everybody. This morning it's kind of early here, and this is Akemi of Akemi Kai Inner Beauty, and I like to talk about law of assumption and inner work. I wanted to make a really short video this morning because I was thinking about the concept of self-abandonment. So if you have been learning about law of assumption and following other creators who talk about law of assumption, you will have come across the topic of self-abandonment. So let me just walk you into the idea in case it's new to you. So for example, you may have been following a creator on TikTok or Instagram who said that say that you are wanting to manifest an SP, right? And what does that mean? Essentially, that's a short term in this community for meaning that you're somewhere inside yourself, you're longing for a relationship, right? And you're having trouble coming into union. That means you can have relationship difficulties that end up in this runner chaser or avoidant anxious kind of dynamic, where maybe you're wanting a relationship with somebody who's unavailable, or somebody who they're not reciprocating, or they're avoiding you, and you are then triggered to experiencing this deep wound inside yourself, and you're not sure where that's coming from. There's some kind of you feel abandoned by the other person in your reality right now. You feel like they abandoned you, and then you'll hear the coach or the TikToker say it's a self-abandonment wound. You have a self-abandonment wound. You need to look at where you are abandoning yourself. And sometimes they'll just leave it at that and not go any deeper. So I want to go a little deeper to unpack what that means. How do you fix that? What does that mean? What's actually going on there? Yeah. Okay, let me take you a little deeper with this. So, yeah, let's go there, so you have a tool for how to get at it. So what this means is that when you're feeling abandoned by somebody outside yourself in your reality, and you've got this horrible wound deep inside, I feel like it's in your solar plexus, below your heart, below your chest, maybe around the diaphragm, solar plexus area. You can usually feel some kind of visceral sensation in your body along with this emotion. So it's a very painful emotion. You feel abandoned. You feel like this person abandoned you. Okay, so when they say you abandoned yourself, what you're going to have to dig for in yourself, in your own journaling and meditation work to find it, is that, again, I'm going to describe how I found this in myself. This is going to be a painful wound from your childhood. You may need to go through various memories that you have of the traumatic experiences that you had in order to find the exact one that this is linked to. But it's basically going to be, I can give you some keys that are going to help you isolate it and locate it and kind of track it. So I just want to say to you, when we're doing inner work, I want you to think of yourself like you're like a dog. You're on the scent, right? You're like a detective. You're like a dog. Somebody gives you the scent of a shirt that the fugitive was last wearing, and you smell that, and then you start tracking this scent. So that's kind of what we're doing with shadow work, okay? We're like tracking the feelings and the sensations and the themes to get back to find what is the root of this? What is the root of this in me? In order to pop these things, to transform them, to transmute them, to shift them inside ourselves, we have to track them through our subconscious, through through the way that our subconscious works, which is through hints. It works through memories and sensations in the body, and like feeling states and emotions and things like that. So you have to use these things to track back through your own psychological content to get to the root of what you're wanting to transform, okay? So in this case, I'm going to give you some keys that will help you lock on, and like you're going to start your tracking to find this in yourself. Okay, hold on. I've got like this YouTube music playing, and I don't know. Hopefully it's not affecting how you hear me. Sorry, I was just like doing my own journaling this morning, and I wanted to make this video. I'm like, hopefully that's okay. Hopefully the sound is okay. I just was working on this, journaling about this in my own journaling this morning, and I was like, I want to talk about that because this is something that's going to help other people. So my channel here, it's like, I feel like if one person gets helped from the content that I'm putting up there, then it's worth it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we really just need to help each other. And I know that along my own journey, there were times when I was working in isolation on something, and I just got some kind of clue through some TikToker or YouTuber or some book that I picked up or whatever that really helped me on my journey. And I'm just trying to give back and be that for somebody who lands that needs something, right? Okay, so the tracking of the abandonment, the self-abandonment, I want you to look for, first I want you to kind of start like tuning into your own trauma memories, the ones that really stand out. I want you to try to find a theme of feeling at times in your life like you were almost like a ghost, like I'm invisible, nobody cares. Like I could die right now and nobody would even notice. Like nobody would miss me. This stuff can get really dark, okay? But it's in there, right? Sometimes those thoughts will come up. You might have remembered having those thoughts at different times in your life over the years, okay? So what you're looking for, there's going to be an echo of that. There's going to be some kind of self-talk attached to it where it's like, I'm like a ghost. I'm like not even here. Like, am I even really here? Like, does anyone even see me? And along with that is going to come this sense of being very disconnected from your body. Like you're very dissociated from your body, okay? So this is going to be a memory that you had where something happened to you at some point in your childhood. Again, we usually look between the ages of 3 and 7, okay? Because that's when all this stuff happens. The nervous system has not fully formed yet. A lot of our psyche has not solidified yet. So that's when all this stuff is kind of happening. These experiences that we have where we can't process them at the time, they cause these glitches in our psyche that just rattle around, and as adults they start causing trouble, right? So they keep us looping in patterns we can't break as adults, and we don't know where they're coming from, and they're rooted in the subconscious, and the only way to get them out is to track them to the root and shift the energy permanently. Okay, so that's why it's called shadow work, is because it's not in the realm of our conscious mind where we're just thinking. You can't go to a psychotherapist or a counselor and talk it out. You can't like get at it by just doing robotic affirming, because deeper inside you, in your subconscious, is this thing that's holding this like series of beliefs. So some of the beliefs that are going to be connected to this fragment are I'm invisible, I'm not seen, nobody even cares, I could die tomorrow and nobody would even miss me, like there's something about you that's dissociated from your body. You feel very disconnected from your body. You may have experienced times in your life as a teen or in your 20s when you were in, like, say, the drinking stage of life where you would be out partying with friends or whatever. You might see there was some really reckless behavior there. Like, maybe there are situations that you put yourself in or places you were going at that time that now as an adult you look back on and you're like, that really wasn't safe. Like, I'm surprised sometimes that I didn't die in some of those situations I was in. Like, I can give you some examples, like in high school when I was getting invited to things and I would just go along with it. Like, let's go to this party, you know, out in the country on somebody's land, you know, with a big bonfire, you know, everybody's just throwing shit on the fire. Kids are drinking like these big, you know, big boxes of beer, and just people are really drunk, and everybody's just a teenager, right? So they're not that conscious. If you look at that now as an adult, you're like, you know, that could have been really dangerous. Like, somebody, you know, people throwing random stuff on this great big bonfire. Like, what if somebody threw, like, you know, some kerosene can or something and it exploded? Like, there was a reckless component to certain activities that you found yourself at. And I'm using my language very carefully, because what you're going to find is that when you hone in on this fragment, it's almost like you're there, but you're not there. Okay? This is what I'm saying. It's very ghostly. It's like you're not really there. Like, your body's there. You may be having conversations with people, but you're like, it's almost like you're not there. Like, either you feel like you're wearing a mask and the real you is not showing up when you think of those memories, or it's like you're not even in your body when these things are going on. So they could be reckless situations of various kinds that you participated in during a certain time of your life will be an indicator that you have this fragment active. Okay? So you'll see this with alcohol, drug use, partying, could be dangerous situations when you're traveling. Like, say you were just like throwing yourself recklessly into situations that were actually not safe, but at the time you just didn't even have a sense of care about yourself. You really weren't paying attention to your own safety at all. So you have some kind of like a feeling like you don't even think about the fact that that might be unsafe, but also you don't really care. So there's this sort of like self-neglect or self-abandonment where you don't really care. Like, who cares? Like, I'm not worth anything. I'm not valuable. And you might not have been thinking those kinds of thoughts consciously, but if you look at the behavior and the environments that you were in at certain times in your life, or certain really like situations that now you look at them and they were very reckless and actually quite dangerous, and things could have gone very wrong. And maybe you even have some times in your past where you look at now and you're like, I could have died there. Like, that was actually very dangerous. Like, my higher self or my guardian angel or somebody was looking out for me, because I could have actually died there. If you have those kinds of occurrences in your, you know, growing up story, in your teens and 20s now, okay, that's indicative of you having this fragment from childhood where you are dissociative from your body. So now we're going to track those things. We're going to look for those kinds of incidents in our 20s. It could even still be going on. You could have like a very, very safe and functioning career life and stuff like that most of the time, but every once in a while, you find yourself like acting out in ways that are like you're like a teenager again, and you're throwing yourself into reckless situations or doing things that your regular day-to-day adult self would not do. Okay. And a lot of times, like this, like I'm saying, this is going to be linked to like drug use, alcohol use, sexual stuff that is unsafe, reckless things. Okay. Reckless things, things where you're not really valuing yourself or your safety. Okay. So You're going to look for those as clues. You're going to look for clues in your thoughts and your feelings that are like, you feel kind of like a ghost sometimes. You feel like you aren't really there, or you're like participating in something, but you're so drunk that it's like you're not really there. Like your body's there, you're having conversations with people, you're doing things, but you're not home. Okay? You're going to look for evidence of that kind of behavior at times somewhere along your story of growing up. And it usually will show up a lot in your like teens and maybe your 20s, like college, high school, college, stuff like that. Okay, and so we're tracking backwards, right? We're tracking backwards to younger and younger ages to try to get to the root. So once you've kind of locked in on those things, you're going to lock in on those feelings. And what I want you to do is I want you to search through your memory banks and look for some kind of age memory. Again, we're going back to below 7. I want you to try to find a memory in your bank of memories of the traumas that you experienced where you went out of your body. You might have actually had an experience that was out of body where something was so crazy and wild and violent and scary or whatever that you literally popped out of your body, and you have a memory of like being up at the ceiling looking down at what's happening because you couldn't handle it, right? People have those memories. I have those memories as a kid. I went out of my body a couple times as a kid where things were so scary and over the top, and I couldn't process it and couldn't handle what was happening, to the point that my stress levels peaked to a point that I popped out of my body and was like up at the ceiling looking down at myself screaming. Okay, so like that's scary, right? I experienced some domestic violence when I was growing up. I was living in a house that had domestic violence. So you know, you may have had some situation where you were being hit and it was very painful and scary and you were crying as a kid and like it made you pop out of your body. Okay, so you might have a memory like that. If you do, that's the root of this thing we're going for. You might not have actually popped out of your body. I mean, different people have different kinds of experiences of what causes dissociation, but essentially what you're going to look for is some kind of memory you had when you were under the age of 7 that was so overwhelming for your senses that it became too much and you did something dissociative. Dissociative means you turned away. The soul part of you, the mental part of you, turned away in some way from the physical body part of you that was stuck in that situation, experiencing that overwhelming moment that couldn't get free, right? Like if someone is beating you really hard as a kid and you can't physically get out of that moment, you can't get away, the soul part of you can actually withdraw and turn away from that moment because it's too painful. You can't process it. You can't handle it. You're too sensitive for that. You can't handle it. The pain in your body, the shame, the fear, the screaming, the shouting, whatever. Okay? You're going to look for some kind of memory that you have of that kind of a moment that has the overwhelm plus the turning away. And what I want you to do is lock on to that memory and lock on to some kind of a visualization of that part of you at that age, at that moment that it's happening. And I want you to like close your eyes while I'm talking. I want you to like create a figure 8 around yourself and pull that part out of you and stick it in the other side of the figure 8 loop. So one loop of the figure 8's around you, the other loop of the figure 8's around them. And I want you to start talking to that part of you at that age from the adult, awesome, most strong part of you now. And I want you to just start talking to them. So I want you to say things like, I see what you're going through in this moment. I see how scared you are. I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. I'm so sorry that you're feeling this scared. I'm so sorry that it's so painful. I'm so sorry that it's so overwhelming. Okay? And I want you to just witness And you just do this by yourself in your own home until you're done. Say everything you can think of, that if that part of you was literally right out of a timeline plopped in front of you in the room right now, what would you say to that part of you? And I want you to completely, fully witness everything that you observe that that part of you at that age is experiencing and going through in that moment. And I want you, what you're doing through this is you're bringing there's a split there from the turning away. You're turning back. You're turning back towards that part of you that you turned away from. So what I want you to do is talk, witness, keep saying things until you have a feeling shift where you feel like that younger part of you could just like come out of that timeline and like step right into your body now, and like you're reclaiming your energy. And that part, you can see this stuff all as holograms. Whatever works for you, okay? Because we're just using the mind to do our work, because the mind doesn't know the difference between our imagination and reality. Okay, so it's a placebo effect we're using. What you're going to do is you're going to keep talking to that part and giving it your compassion and your witnessing. And you may break down and cry, because literally, if you as an adult saw something happening to a kid right in front of you right now today, that was what you went through, it would break your heart, right? You would never do that to a kid. You would never do that. Whoever did that to you as that age, you would never do that to a kid now, right? The person you are now, it's horrifying. So you may have that feeling come up where you cry because you're just like, I can't believe somebody did that to me when I was that age. Like, that's so awful. I can't believe me at that age had to experience that and had to process that. Okay, so you're going to do that by yourself, okay, alone in the privacy of your home until some kind of shift happens where that younger part of you kind of like gets enough witnessing that they can like dissolve from that timeline and kind of energetically come back. What you're doing is you're taking the energetic content and you're reabsorbing it back into you, and you're transmuting it into your present timeline and your present self, and you're integrating that. Now, after you've experienced that, you may have kind of a bumpy ride in your present timeline for a day or two. It depends how many times you've done this. After you've done this a bunch of times, it's very fast. If it's your first time doing it, it might take you a week of feeling kind of emotional and a little bit raw and kind of bumpy and like maybe crying on and off if you have some other part of it that you're remembering and you're just like, wow, this is so awful. Like, I can't believe how sad that is, you know. I think the first time that I did this practice on a part of me, it probably took me 2 weeks of sometimes feeling kind of like, where am I? Who am I? Like you're absorbing and you're reabsorbing and integrating and processing content that you couldn't back then. So it can be a little bit disorienting. Like, you might need more naps. You might need more time alone. You might need to go for a lot of walks with your dog or walks out in the park in nature alone. Listen to music. Do whatever you need to do to kind of allow your body and your psyche to process that content that it did not process back then. Eventually, what's going to happen is all of that stuff separates out. So you will no longer have this wall in your psyche between the today you and that fragment of you from that age. You'll still have the memory of that thing happening, but it won't be so charged because you're processing it. And your emotions might get like, you know, the lake on a windy day for a few days after doing this, because you're processing the emotions you didn't process back then. But you're so mature now and you have access to so many things, and you have so much context, life context, that you can process stuff that you couldn't process below the age of 7, right? So you can definitely handle it. And eventually what's going to happen is your body will, you know, continue processing that until it's done, and you kind of like get rid of the negative emotion and stuff, and it will settle out. And then you'll find that those kinds of behaviors are diminished. you're not going to see that kind of behavior popping up randomly in your life like you used to. If it still does, you might have another fragment that you need to work on. I hope you're getting the gist of this. This is how it works. This is the basic process. I'm kind of laying it out so you can learn it on your own and work it how you work it. And once you learn how to do this, you can do it over and over again on your own fragments whenever they're triggered. It's kind of hard to track a fragment if you're just in a regular state and you have an inkling that there might be something there, but you have zero trigger. Like, you're not emotional. I've never been able to track a fragment and do the integration process if I'm just in a regular super, my ego's really strong and there's like nothing going on for me emotionally, like I haven't been triggered or whatever. I have never been able to track a fragment in that state. The ideal times for tracking a fragment and doing this kind of shifting, like transmuting integration work, are when you've been triggered. Somebody in your 3D reality out there has said something, done something, whatever, that triggers that fragment part of you, and it's clanging loudly in the background in your psyche. You might overreact to the situation that's just come up in the 3D. You might overreact to the person. You might have an emotional response that is way larger than it needs to be. That's the moment when you want to, instead of engaging more with the person out there, you want to just stop interacting, withdraw into your own privacy, and start doing the inner work. I hope this makes sense. If you have questions about details of it, if you're doing it and you have questions about details of it and you want to chat with me about it, you can drop something in the comments. I do have some email coaching, and like I said, I am trained in this work, and I have a certification in the Compassion Key method itself, which is a very, kind of like a way of doing this with you and kind of guiding you through it. So if that's something you're interested in, you can contact me through the comment section. But yeah, I hope that you learn how to do this yourself and that you can do it skillfully yourself, and you get this kind of way of taking power back in your life of the things in your past that have haunted you. They're literally the ghosts of your past. And as you reclaim your energy from them and your power back from those traumas and process the content and release it, you will find you are more and more present in your current reality, and you have more of you to interact with, and your life will shift. Your life will change a lot because there's more of you here. There's less of you wrapped up in old timelines, old trauma experiences, old fragments of you at younger ages, and there's more of you here to show up here. So you have a lot more power in the things that you do in the present when you do this work. Every time that you integrate a very large fragment, you will notice some kind of major shift in your life in the outer world, because you suddenly have access to all this all this energy and presence. Your presence will increase in the current moment. Yeah. So anyways, I bless you with that. I really hope that you take that and use it well, and I wish you wonderful experiences in your self-reclamation and your timeline work. This is basically reclaiming yourself from past timelines, reclaiming your younger parts. If you need more information on kind of that, just to wrap your head around it, I think you could probably do some research on inner family systems or something like that. This is a little different, but that'll kind of explain it better if it's the first time you've ever come across this kind of work. But I wish you well in your shadow work, and I hope that that's helpful for you. Okay, see you next time.